Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today I'm going to take you through a strumming technique that I call framing. Some people call it double strumming, some people call it double quick strumming. It doesn't really matter the name. What's going on is that for a small part of the bar, we're going to strum twice as fast. The idea of it, the concept of it is not particularly difficult, but if you get the mechanics wrong, if the technique isn't right, it's always going to feel really difficult and you'll really struggle to get into the groove. So what I'm going to do is first of all take you through the count and exactly what is going on, and then we're going to focus a little bit more exactly on the mechanics and the way that your wrist is going to move, because if you get that wrong, like I said, it really ain't going to work. This technique is used lots of different ways in lots of different songs. A couple of really obvious good examples would be That's Entertainment by The Jam, where it's kind of part of the main strumming pattern, and also Sultans of Swing, which uses it in a slightly different way. So let's talk about what's going on here. I always talk about the importance of moving your hand continuously when you strum. So when you're strumming, you regularly want to be going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4. And even if you're only strumming some of the motions, your hand should be continually moving. If you're going down, down, up, down, the hand should be moving real nice and consistently, even if you are doing da, 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 da. This hand moving thing is really a key thing to be working on to get your strumming sounding really good. But obviously if your hand's moving consistently like that and you're suddenly going to go twice as fast, it gets lost a little bit, right? So let's start off by talking about the count, and we're going to put this frame on the and of beat 4. So what I'm talking about here, we got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right? So what would usually be an upstroke, the and after 4, we're going to change it into a downstroke. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just start with that. So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just practicing that a little bit will get you used to the idea of the count. Now we're going to follow that last down, the one that we changed from an up to a down. We're going to follow it with an up. So now we'll have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You want to practice this quite a lot first before you go much further. Just make sure that you got it under your fingers. Note that I'm not playing with any chords, just the muted hit. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 2 and 3 and 4 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, this is what's going on. You can put it on any beat, but it's most commonly done on the and after 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, you can hear straight away when we put the chord in, it does get a little bit lost. So putting your fingers over and playing with a muted strum is a really great way to learn this technique. Now, when I was just demonstrating it then, I was gradually speeding it up because there comes a point where the technique starts to feel real awkward. So if you're going to go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, that's about my limit to do it with this technique. Down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And it feels really like I'm kind of having to pull because I'm used to my strumming motion and I've suddenly got to pull it up early and it feels awkward. It feels like not right. So to solve this problem, we're actually going to change the way we strum. Now, for those of you not thought about it much before, there's actually two approaches to strumming. One that's used a lot more when you play fast, like funk guitar, and the other one which would be used for general strumming. So using this forearm motion is the most common. Okay, so if you're just strumming, I would recommend that you're using that as your general kind of, that should be the motion that you're using. As soon as you want to play something faster, you probably find that your wrist lifts up a little bit and you go for much more of a wrist action. So less forearm, more wrist. It's a lot easier to strum fast when you're using this rotation, but it's also not as accurate. So if you start picking out bass notes or adding a percussive hit, all of those things become difficult. So it's not that one is necessarily better, it's one's better at one thing and the other one's better at some other things. But what we're going to do now is look at combining those two things, and this is where it gets super nice. So what we want to do is we want to use the big motion for all of the strums except for the frame. So we'd end up going like this: down, up, down, up, down, up, down, flick, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, flick. Okay, so you can see at this point for the last two, I'm using a proper rotation of the wrist. Okay, it's got to be going, the picking motion comes that way rather than this way. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, wrist, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, wrist. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully you get the idea there. It feels and probably looks a lot more relaxed, a lot easier. One thing that'll definitely help you when you start on this, I should have mentioned it earlier, is a thin pick. It's possible to do it with a thicker pick, but requires a lot greater degree of control. So I'd definitely recommend using a thinner pick when you start learning this. Now, I was gradually getting faster then so you can see the way it works and that it still feels nice and relaxed, but you definitely want to be starting with just real simple 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, wrist, wrist, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, wrist, wrist, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Making sure that you get this change of mechanics. Okay, so this is one version of strumming. This is the other version of strumming, where the forearm's hardly moving. There's the first one. Here's the second one. So now the job really is just going to be practicing it, trying to make sure you stay loose. Because this motion, that when you're kind of moving your hand like this is relaxed. You can't do it with any tension. It's like, I often describe it as flicking water off your hand. If you dipped your hand in some water or some paint or something and you were flicking it off, it wants to be that loose. Right? Obviously you need to be holding your pick, right? So there's a little bit of tension there, but it wants to have that real loose feeling. And this strumming should also be loose when you're using your forearm, but it's just a different feeling. So, and the key really, if you can maintain that relaxed feeling in your forearm, do it really, really slowly till you've got it right. Gradually speed it up. And don't be in a hurry to speed things up. If you can't do something well slowly, you're not going to be able to do it well quick. There are obviously exceptions to this rule, like riding the bike and a few guitar ones, but this isn't one of those, right? You really want to make sure that you got those mechanics right. Make sure you're aware of this up and down forearm motion and the rotation of the forearm as two very distinct mechanical things. And then the trick with learning to do framing correctly is to be able to put those two things together. So when you start practicing different patterns, definitely the first one I would recommend is putting it on the and after 4. Okay, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. See if you can make it feel nice as well. I talk about that quite often with strumming. It's got to feel good. Okay, it's got to feel good. Really, really important. The other pattern that I think is really worth exploring is putting it on the and after one. So you'd have 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 4 and 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. Okay, note that when you're doing this, it's unlikely you're going to strum all of the strings. So don't be worried if you're not making as big a motion, because you're just not. It's a very different mechanic, and really it's kind of a percussive move. So yes, you're doing extra strums, but the effect of it is more percussive than it is actual. And it's one of those things, often if you've got a chord change happening there as well, you might end up doing the little fast bit as the chord's changing. It ends up being a percussive hit anyway. So definitely don't worry about doing that. And please follow my recommendation of practicing this with the fingers covering the strings rather than having the chord down, because it can really muddle it and you won't learn it as well if you do it that way. Really hope you enjoy this, and it adds a little bit of flavor to your strumming. Remember, this is part of the Grade 3 series, which is great for advancing beginners. People who know their basic chords, they can strum okay, but they're looking for nice ways of spicing up their playing a bit before they launch into the intermediate stage of learning about all bar chords and other fancy stuff, 5-positional playing. So yeah, do go and check that out over on the website if you haven't been over lately. Plenty of new, very fun stuff over there. Hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for plenty more lessons very soon. Bye-bye.